Reporting the mass migration of millions of people into Europe is a huge challenge for us as journalists. And working with our network of journalists across Europe, we've come up with 5 points of guidance which we can just have in our minds when we are doing this reporting. The first is facts, not bias. So we should be careful always to be accurate. Where we don't have information, we should tell our publics that we don't have that information. And also, where we take information from pressure groups, think tanks or politicians, we should be transparent with the public as to where that information has come from. Secondly, know the law. What is an asylum seeker? What is a refugee? What is a victim of trafficking? And what are the laws governing the rights of migrants in our countries and internationally? Thirdly, show humanity. These are individual human beings. So we must be careful to tell the public about the reasons why these people are coming here. We should be telling people what are the circumstances in Ethiopia, in Sudan or in Somalia which are driving people to come to Europe. What are the conditions like in camps in Jordan or in Lebanon? What's it actually like to live in Afghanistan? And we should also be looking at the historical context here. What are the problems that our own society has in terms of perhaps low birth rates and an aging society which could be affected by mass migration? And what are the skills of the migrants? Fourthly, speak for all. Make sure that we don't just talk about migrants, but we talk to migrants and we find out what their stories are from them themselves. And we need to be very careful about people who claim to be representatives of migrants. Are they really speaking for them? We should check into that. And finally, we need to challenge hate. We need to be aware that when extremists preach hate, that can result in attacks on people. So do we really need always to hear some of these views that we broadcast and that we print? If we do, we need to challenge them. And we ourselves need to avoid using language of hate such as swarming or swamping or flooding. We need to remember we're talking about human beings. We're not talking about plagues of insects or natural cataclysms. So none of these points are designed to limit free expression. Free expression is absolutely key for our viewers to trust what we're saying about migration. If we avoid negative stories, our viewers will stop trusting us. What we have to do is examine the veracity of those negative stories. And if we don't do that, into that void, the extremists will move and they will give the public inaccurate information. I would like to say on a personal basis, as my last point, that I am the descendant of migrants who came from Ireland because of poverty and famine. And when I look back at how that mass migration was covered by the British press, what I see is in large measure shameful, racist and scandalous. And what we want to be sure of as journalists is that when our grandchildren and our great-grandchildren look back at how we covered this wave of migration, they are proud of the standards of journalism that we demonstrated.